What is a company secret you can share now that you don't work there? I worked at L'Oreal. The cosmetics from L'Oreal and Lancome are practically the same. But Lancome costs like $20 more. My ex worked for another huge brand that made lotions. They put the exact same lotion into bottles with 3 brands at different price points. People attach a value to the price, so if they only sold it at the lowest price point, some people would think it's cheap and they would lose sales. If they only sold it at the highest price point, they would be pricing it too high for other individuals and lose sales. My dad used to work in a Chanel factory and told me the same thing. Bourjois products were the same stuff but cheaper. It was like 30 plus years ago. I worked for a major hotel chain in housekeeping for over 10 years. The number of suicides and people who die naturally in their rooms is a lot higher than you'd think. I worked at a huge convention hotel with over 1,000 rooms, and it happened quite often. Unless it was a pretty gnarly mess, it would just get cleaned like normal, and the next guest had no idea. At one of the hotels I worked at, a woman killed herself by drinking antifreeze. Her body was blue, blood, vomit and poop everywhere. My friend who was maintenance saw it and couldn't sleep that night. Working at hotels will change you. I worked at a comic book store that offered a service where you paid a small premium to have sent in rare comics to have them graded at CGC. A few months later, we had many customers coming in to check the status of their comics. We contacted the owner to see what was going on, and he would always claim that there was some distribution problem. Fast forward a few months, we found out he was taking customers' graded copies and selling them online while trying to return back issue versions of their original comics. How did this dude think that comic collectors who were sending in comics to be graded wouldn't recognize they weren't receiving their original comic back? Lol. I'm sure if you newer to the hobby wouldn't be the wiser, but man. That's what we all said. My friend and I were managers and had absolutely no idea this was happening. It was a smaller town comic shop, and all the customers sending in comics to be graded were good friends of ours. But the plot gets thicker. Turns out his wife was signed for the business, so the owner wasn't really the owner. We called her and explained what was happening. She was in tears. She came to shop to meet the wronged customers, and she took graded comics from the owner's collection and let the customers pick out comics to equal to the value of their graded comics in return for the mishap. Fast forward a few months, she closed the store, gave us our paychecks, and even some I'm sorry money. It turns out the guy was doing all kinds of other shady shit. She divorced him, and I'm like 99% sure he went to jail for fraud. He's also banned from CGC and all of the licensed big comic cons lol. So don't worry, he lost that battle. At least it sounds like his wife was a decent person and tried to make it right, because yeesh. If you were on live chat with customer care, I could see what you were typing before pressing send. I watched people work through grotesque racist, sexist statements, fraudulent lies and mistruths, meticulous grammar fixes, and their whole range of emotions in real time before deleting and typing OK. Meticulous grammar fixes. Guilty. The worst part is, I know they can see it. Yeah, I started typing my responses in Notepad and pasting them over because of my need to be seen as an adult. The vehicle modification shop at Chillicothe Correctional Institution in Chillicothe, Ohio, dumps waste coolant from the machine shop into a storm drain that empties directly into the Scioto River because the chemical disposal tank is a 55-gallon drum in the paint shop, and that's much too small. They can't throw me into solitary confinement for complaining anymore. Edit. This happens about once a year when the machine's coolant reservoirs are emptied and the coolant replaced. It's not on a schedule, it's one of those things that you do when work is slow. Each machine holds 15 to 20 gallons, and usually you just add more as it evaporates, but eventually it gets nasty and needs replaced. It's supposed to go in a waste tote to be disposed of safely, which is what every non-government machine shop does. Being able to prove this is being done would require knowing when they're going to do this, and that's a decision that's often made spur of the moment. Hey, work is slow, let's have a cleanup day. There aren't any phones in the machine shop, either. Edit 2. A container to store the waste properly costs $200. Why waste taxpayer money when we can just poison the taxpayers instead? What the fuck? Contact your local news organizations. Contact the fucking EPA. If you pick up a wall phone at Home Depot and push 7, it activates the store-wide intercom. This works in every store in my province of fake. Pound symbol then 35 at Lowe's. I don't think it's a bad secret at all. But back in college, I delivered pizzas for Papa John's. The store manager must have had an undiagnosed case of OCD or germophobia or something. Because every night, he would assign someone to do the cleaning duties, mopping floors, double-checking expiration dates, throwing away expired stuff, etc. And every night, he would absolutely lose his temper and berate whoever was doing the cleaning. They were going too fast, they weren't cleaning everything, whatever. After that, he'd always take over the cleaning himself. He was amazingly picky about the cleanliness and food quality. Expiration date is 3 days from now? Fuck that, I'll order more. Throw that shit away, we're not serving it. He would also go out of pocket to buy special cleaning products because that worthless bullshit that corporate wants us to use doesn't get the job done. He also went out of pocket to hire some kind of specialist to clean out the fountain drink dispenser, ice machine and all that stuff. The machine needs to always be as close to brand new as possible. One standout moment for me was when he reduced a cashier to tears by hollering, "Would you eat off this floor? No? Then it's not clean enough." He wasn't telling her to eat off the floor. He was just making a point. After we'd closed the store, he'd kick all of us out, lock up behind us, and stay until something like 2 a.m. cleaning the place. You always knew when he closed because you could smell the chemical scent still lingering in the air. The end result of this was the store, the food, the equipment and the facilities were always in squeaky clean condition. Customers, somehow, picked up on what a perfectionist the store manager was and bought from us all the time. Because there's a lot of peace of mind that goes in with knowing your food was cooked by someone willing to throw ingredients away before the expiration date, stay in the store until God knows when cleaning everything, etc. The true irony was how much the boss hated himself because he didn't think he was doing a good enough job to run a clean restaurant with fresh ingredients. It didn't matter how many compliments he got from customers or how many service industry veterans said they'd never worked in a place as obsessive about freshness and cleanliness as his Papa John's store, he was convinced his store was still a filthy barn. Eventually, he got promoted to some kind of higher-level corporate position, district manager? That required him to visit other stores and make sure they were all up to spec. The end result of that was a lot of stores in this area all improved seemingly overnight. Just admit you worked for Los Palos Hermanos. I used to work as a receptionist at an upscale salon. While I was there, the salon introduced a new line of products marketed towards men. Up until that point, most of our products were marketed towards women, but the execs saw that we were getting more male customers. Every item in the men's product line was about half the cost of our other products. The men's shampoo was the exact same shampoo the salon had been selling for years, but because they put it in black packaging with the word man on it, it was half the price. The owner's explanation was, well, men don't want to pay that much for hair products. For the rest of the time I worked there, every time a woman came up to buy that shampoo, I'd tell her that the men's shampoo was the exact same product for half the price. Which the exec was happy about because he saw good sales for the male shampoo he introduced. 1. Ford parts from Mexico are way more reliable than Ford parts from Detroit, or at least they were before 2020. I worked in Detroit and we had some customers who were fussy about us always doing repairs with Michigan parts, but when we had a problem that wouldn't stay fixed, we would always secretly switch to the Mexican parts, which did solve things. 2. I was a prison guard a decade ago, and we installed some facial tracking software in the surveillance cameras. One of the inmates panicked while cleaning the unused solitary confinement cells, which is usually a desirable job. It's easy as fuck, and nobody pays attention to you, and he insisted that he be moved out of that job because there was a ghost. The ranking officers decided to check the new cameras, and the security software claimed it saw a face behind the inmate at the same time as he was visibly startled in the camera footage. We're all aware there are mundane reasons why a new facial recognition system would think it saw a ghost, but since the inmate and the security software both thought there was a ghost, it was decided that the inmate should be immediately transferred at no penalty. Olive Garden breadsticks are just France brand breadsticks, garlic salt, and butter Ada. It's margarine, not butter. I forgot there is a difference. Yeah, but I'm not buying France sticks when Olive Garden will give me an unlimited amount that are already prepared. Worked at Best Buy 20 years ago. Employee discount was 5% over cost, and I needed a new printer. Decided to splurge on the gold-plated USB printer cable that we sold for $40. Rang up $1.78. Ha, I worked there in high school early college during break a bit. Definitely took advantage of accessory pricing. Other thing that was nice was the Intel and AMD employee offers where you'd get CPUs and motherboards for probably 50% off or better. There was a similar program for some car audio stuff too, probably close to 75% off head units, subwoofers, amplifiers, etc. I bought probably $2,000 worth for like $500 and sold it for $1,000. I used to work surveillance at a casino. From something like 3 stories high ceiling, we could zoom in on money on the table games and read the serial numbers of the bills. We could see the pips on the dice. Policy was to not look down blouses. This is true and also very annoying because I work on the floor and the guys in surveillance can't be bothered to do their job and give us a lot of HRMM, can't really see anything when we call them. They're busy looking down a blouse. Who dented my car in the parking garage? Inconclusive. But they can see the date on a penny. They don't give a fuck what happens in the garage. Those cameras are still from 1982. Exactly, stuff in the garage is your money. Stuff on the tables is the house's money. I worked at a Petco in Alaska. Apparently brown-black mice are not allowed up here. Only white mice. We got a shipment in of a bunch of black-brown mice and had to take them to the vet to be killed. Also, the animals are literally shipped in on a UPS truck and delivered in packages. I would open a package and it would be full of fish or mice or snakes. You never knew what was coming, it was wild. Luckily my shift manager was a really good person. She tried her best to help any sick animal and was super diligent about keeping the cages really clean. She would stay after hours to care for the sick animal in the back and double down on cleaning. When upper management came, they didn't give a shit how clean anything was. They would yell at us to get more customers to sign up for pet rewards. If I didn't pester every single person checking out, they would get angry and give me point deductions. I have no idea what the deductions even did. One of the upper managers watched me for like 3 hours when I was at the register. He said I wasn't pushy enough on getting people to donate, sign up for shit. Bitch, I will ask once and if they say no, I am not asking again. That shit is annoying AF. He also got mad at me when I didn't clean the birdcage fast enough. It took time away from the register. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want our birds to stand in their own shit for hours, so yeah, I'ma take my time to scrub that shit clean. Also, don't buy fish from Petco. Pretty much every shipment that came in they were all infected with ick. Basically half our tanks were in quarantine. We had several customers come back saying we killed their entire fish tank because of a fish we sold them. Fuck Petco. All new clothing and everything you try on is dirty. I've worked in retail for years and it still shocks people, but there's no washing machine or disinfectant spray or wipes. Nothing. I've opened boxes of new clothes that had white bugs coming out of it. Seen woman after a workout class come and try clothes on then just leave still sweaty from the class. One older lady left dime-size skin flakes in the clothes she tried on. Not to mention whatever happens when they return the item or what happened in the factory. People are gross, nothing is clean, always wash your clothes when you get them home. Had someone steal a new bra and put their dirty ass bra back on the rack, I threw it out. People have shit inside of fitting rooms and to this day all new clothes bought are immediately washed. Everyone looks at me and I say the day you work in retail, you will understand that humans are far more disgusting than animals. In the United States, one company's bread and butter was simply reboxing and relabeling computer monitors from China to make it seem like they were from the company and made assembled in some way by them. I work for a wholesaler. You would be surprised how many companies simply source merchandise and sell it without ever touching it. We ship it direct to their customers for them, just swap the return address for theirs. Hotels do not typically have security, maintenance or housekeeping on staff 24/7. Once housekeeping finishes cleaning all the rooms, the entire staff leaves except for one front desk employee. I used to work at a 600-plus room Hyatt. After 11 o'clock, one front desk person, 1 to 2 housekeepers, 1 phone operator, 1 cop every night in case drunk people would cause a scene or bums would sneak in. I used to be security 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock before getting switched to front desk. I used to walk through the whole hotel, all 30 floors, and make sure bums didn't sneak in to sleep in the hallways and feast on old banquet food or shoot up in the parking garage stairs. I would walk around with the housekeeping manager, He became a good friend and shoot the shit because I didn't actually have anything I needed to do. I used to see all the fucked up and nasty shit people would do to the hotel room's manager. My friend used to get called for all the weird stuff, and I would just go with him to hang out, and we could joke about it and judge people being weirdos. Pro tip: if a hotel has carpet, don't touch it with your bare feet. The carpet might get cleaned twice a year but is vacuumed every stay. But you have no idea how many people spill food, every drink imaginable, piss, vomit, everything. They have a special ozone machine that fully deodorizes everything in the room, basically fumigating it. Then a little spray on the carpet and good as new. It is crazy and a little disturbing how well those things work. Pro tip 2. Security at a big hotel was definitely the cushiest job I have ever had. I had free reign and master keys of the entire hotel and all convention banquet areas. All I had to do was patrol, which entailed me once or twice a night walking by every room in the hotel, making sure all the doors were locked by the end of the night. There were a shitload of doors and back hallways, housekeeping floor, 2 engineering floors, 2 kitchens and like 15 to 20 convention banquet areas. But this basically gave me 8 hours a day where I didn't have to be anywhere at any specific time. I just wandered aimlessly around the hotel and hung out with people from all the different departments. I made friends with all the banquet manager girls because I would get called to unlock banquet rooms that the setup team left locked and would help them get all the lights on and make sure nobody was sleeping in there. But I got hooked up with all the banquet foods. There was always extras. So many different snacks, wedding food, bagels, breakfast tacos, breakfast sandwiches, so many cookies and little desserts. After work everyone would meet up at the bar down the street and get wasted and hang out. It was awesome. Became friends with everyone at the front desk and eventually got moved over there because I thought I wanted to get into hotel management. Honestly, housekeeping manager is the way to get into hotel management. Front office just gets you yelled at by angry business travelers. I would never go back and work in a hotel now. But if you are in your early 20s or in college, highly recommended. Used to work at a graphic design firm. All our Adobe software was pirated. From what I've heard about Adobe, if I was in that game I'd be pirating too. Back when Photoshop came out, it put a lot of the old school lithographers out of business. My dad was one of these. When he got laid off, he copied the stack of floppy disks with Photoshop on them, bought an Apple computer, and started his own company. When I worked at a Godiva store, we would turn expired chocolate bars into sample pieces. This has to be the most benign comment in this whole thread. Yeah, I'd honestly rather day-old chocolate be a sample than get thrown in the dumpster. Worked at a major cable ISP and their 4 billing cycles. They upgraded the billing system but did something wrong and all but the current cycle got a late charge. But instead of fixing it immediately, we were told to credit their account if the customer called in. I did the math, and for the size of our city and the 3/4 of people wrongly charged, it was over $1 million United States dollars. Most people just pay their bill and don't look to close. Comcast. They do this all the time. Not really worth the hour plus it takes on the phone for them to not steal from you, but it's worth it to them to steal from thousands of people. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. And be sure to check out our other videos for more content like this. See you next time.